Congratulations and welcome to Move Manager 360. This opening screen might feel a little underwhelming, especially if you don't have any current projects, but the simplicity is a part of the charm. Here we can see that we can create a new project or lead to start our work. To access other options, we can click on the hamburger menu over here on the left, upper left, and from here we could clock in to the system. It will clock us in like a punch clock. We can view our logs for the day. We can click on our user to access our profile settings. If we are a member of multiple locations, we can use our switch location to switch to different locations. We can look at our personal performance reviews, our time logs. We can jump into the training modules, which you may be watching this through, or you may be watching it from another spot, but the training section is there. And we can also log out from here. Immediately following this is our CRM, the view that we are currently on, projects, team calendar, which is where we can see the schedule across all projects and also see follow-ups that are scheduled, not just shifts. Our time and schedules. This is a drop list of the locations availability. If you're an owner, you can set that, so your standard hours of availability. Your personal availability, when you're available to work. Your personal time logs. If you are a manager who is allowed, or an owner, the team time logs, where you can see everyone's time records. And then you can manage time off requests. Then we have owner settings. From here, you can configure the system exactly the way that you want. Again, if this is your first time in the system, some of these settings you might want to tweak. So, for example, brand settings is where we can go in here and we can update what logos the system is using, as well as set any specific colors we want to be used on a public site if you're using a public site. And then the portal colors. Primary and secondary are going to be the colors that you notice the most. But so like you can see this pink and whatnot is used throughout the site. I could change this to a different color that's more on brand for me. Same thing for, if I don't like the info box color or success colors or our warning colors and so on, you can change all those to what you like. Under these settings, we also have our contract settings. Depending on how you were added to the system, you may already have a standard contract. Your contracts can be added or edited from here. If you have the standard contract that we put in, it's already formatted to incorporate everything that is typical of a move manager. You may want to change your deposit amount. If you would like to do that, just type in a percentage right here of the amount that you would like in a range of 5. So if I wanted to do 30% or 35% or 50%, I can do that. Anything that is held in these curly brackets is information the system will put into this contract automatically for you. To access those, you just type an @ sign and it will come up with a list of all the different things that you can have inserted into the contract. These are typically available in any system generated messages, so always try hitting an @ sign to see if there are some options for you to automatically insert content. After you've done going through and updating your contract, you just need to click on update and it'll save. Discounts. If you offer discounts, you can create them here and you can create master discounts. You can give them a name, their description, a legal description, and then pick which legal icon. The legal icons can only be used once, so they don't end up creating confusion if you use them across multiple contracts. You can choose the type of discount, a percentage or a fixed amount. This is particularly handy if you have agreements with communities where you want to offer a discount to them, or you offer like a discount for veterans. Down here you can say that these applies to origination, meaning origination services. So whenever you create your services, you can designate whether or not they apply to the origination or the destination. You can also tell it to exclude this discount from any additional items because those are typically out-of-pocket expenses that you're adding on. And you can also mark it as exclusive, meaning that if this is applied, it is the one that gets used, not any other discounts that are added. Jumping over to disk usage, it's just letting you know how much space your projects are using up on the server. Goals, you may want to go in and set up your goals of what you want to have estimated, contracted, invoiced, and paid throughout the year. You can set your goals in here, and this becomes very useful on the dashboard. If you want to set your goals for a different year, you can just choose a different year from here, and we could pick 2025, and we can enter our goals, and we'll put them in here. These top ones are our financial goals. A bind rate, or the rate at which we have contracts signed, we can put that in here. So we could say we want to sign at least 70% of, pardon me, 70% of our contracts. Down here, we can set our target touch quality. So if we have a sales team and we're tracking the touches that they do, we can put in our target for each one of the levels of quality touches. More on that later. Then we have our integrations. Most of these integrations are still in progress, but it gives you an idea of what we're working on. The ones that are ready to use are Google Calendar and QuickBooks. Either of these you can connect to those services and then connect to them. For QuickBooks, when you connect to it, you can choose to have it to sync all of the contacts from QuickBooks. And if you do, you can tell it to sync all of them or just after a certain date. So if you've been operating for a very long time, you might say, I only want everyone from 2022 and newer. So you might say that year. And then confirm that, and then it'll bring those contacts over. Then over here, it lists what you have as services within our system, and then what's available inside your QuickBooks for you to map them to. This way, when you create invoices and they have these services on them, they'll automatically be mapped to the P&L line items on your contract. And if you are using inventory within QuickBooks, it will subtract from inventory based on the quantity that you choose for those items as well. For the Google integration, you can click to connect and it will take you to Google, where you can choose which account you're going to connect to. When you do this, I strongly recommend that you connect to a dedicated scheduling account, not your personal account. 2 reasons. All invites then will come from your personal account, and 2, if you are invited to a shift or a follow-up, you won't get a notice because technically it's your calendar. You don't get invited to your own calendar. So it's a really good idea to have a dedicated account. It doesn't necessarily have to be a workspace account. You could use a free account to do this. Once you connect, you'll designate who to notify anytime someone is added to the calendar that doesn't exist in the system, and how you want to handle that, as well as set your staff permissions on what they should have access to within the calendar. Location details holds all the information about your company. Here you can put in your company name. This is where you can change the domain that you are currently logged into. Just know that if you make a change to this, everyone who is currently a user of your side of the system will have to log back in. It will not affect your estimates and such. Those use a dedicated domain to go out on. So changing this will not break previous estimates. However, any of your users that you have logged in will have to log back in. Then down here we can set our address and our phone number and all of that. And the review settings that are down here are actually moving into a different section, so we'll cover those when we get to review settings. So that was location details, location settings. Something that everyone kind of misses, and we're looking at a better way to handle this. But up here at the top is a way for you to switch between all the different settings that are specific to your location. This is where you can customize much of the system to match your vernacular, your processes, and so on. So, for example, action date types is a field that is in the CRM. These are where you can say, I want to do an action on this date, and you can choose from this list of actions here. So you can add additional actions that you may want to take. Same thing for like company roles. These are roles that are common in our industry, but you may want to add a specific one that you work with. Company types, same story. These are the typical companies that we work with, but you may have one that you want to add. And this goes the same all the way down through here. So contact status is a little bit more involved because this is your process that you follow through with a contact. So you can use this status on a contact, usually a referral source or a client, for you to be able to track where you're at with them. These are all pretty self-explanatory. Estimate defaults. Okay, estimate defaults, when we get to the estimate, you'll see that you can hide certain things on the estimate and have them show on the estimate. You can set the options here so that every time you open an estimate, it's already set with these in mind. Follow-up types are a schedule tool where you can schedule a follow-up with a contact or for a contact, and you can invite multiple people within your staff to conduct this follow-up type. And this is different than a shift. This isn't necessarily tied to a project. This is tied to a contact. Location defaults are the defaults of what happens when you create new things within the system. So for example, whenever we create a new contact in a project, this is the current default that a contact gets, current client for their status. And the default client contact type is client. The signed estimate status, it's going to look at your project statuses, which we haven't touched on yet, but to know what status you want to move a project into when someone signs an estimate. When we create a new project, what is the status that we would like that project to be assigned to when we create it? And then this lets the system know what these statuses are in case we want to be able to take action against them in future drip campaign functionality that we are adding. So for example, you could say any project that is in a no for now status, it knows what no for now is. Same thing for invoice sent and invoice paid status. These can be set based on when a invoice is actually paid or when invoice is sent through QuickBooks. And I believe the rest of these become self-explanatory. Let's move on to the next setting. The next setting, performance categories. These are the performance reviews that you can do either just annually or even after every project or every so many projects with your staff, especially if they're brand new and they're working towards getting that promotion from a level 1 to like a level 2 senior move manager. So you can put in here what you would like to give them a rating on. These performance categories show up in the review to give them a 1 to 5 star rating. So you can create as many or reduce this as you like. These are the default ones that come with the system. Project folders is the default folders that are created on the document section for each project. So it'll automatically create these folders by default. You could remove these or add additional ones. The role means that you have to be in this role in order to access that folder. So for example, the manager folder here is managers and above. and owner is owners only. Shift types are what you use when you are scheduling shifts on a project. So this is when you are scheduling the work on your project. So what you see here is the typical workflow that senior move managers move through. You can customize this workflow to the one that works for you. There's some additional ones down in here, and just in case you want to use those. If you don't like these, you will have an option to go in to edit them and deactivate any of the ones that you do not want to use. When editing these, you can set their color and their icons so that when they show up on the calendar, you can see them in a color-coded format. Vehicles, as you add staff, you can choose whether or not they have a vehicle. If they have a vehicle or you have company vehicles, you can go in here and cite who owns it, whether it's the company or it belongs to a staff person, how many miles per day they do not receive reimbursement for. We typically will take the plot of where they live to where the office is and take that mileage and put that in here to follow IRS rules. Reimbursement, if you reimburse them for miles exceeding that amount. And then if you bill for miles, how many miles are free to the client every day for this vehicle? And then what is the billable rate for this vehicle? This allows you to get very granular with your vehicles, whether they belong to staff or to the company, and different company vehicles billing at a different rate. And that's the majority. There are other settings that you saw in here, but most of them are self-explanatory. There is documentation on each one of those settings in our documentation section, which if you get down here, you can see our support down here. If you click on that, it will take you into the documentation section of the site. You can go under the How Do I and browse through our existing categories. Okay, carrying on here. We did our location settings, project statuses. This is that workflow that we talked about where you can set your workflow. You can order the workflow specifically. So this follows the order that you specify here. If this is still visible to you, we are doing away with these different designations and everything will just be active. But if you do see these there, when you edit these and you create a new one, turn all these options on. Again, this is going away. They will be on by default for you anyways. Other settings that you have in here is that you can notify the lead on the project with an email. And like I said before, you can put in the @ sign to get information that can be inserted in here dynamically about that project whenever you send out that email. So you can notify the lead on the project, you can notify the client, and you can also notify the team that is assigned to the project. This is a really good one, like with the active status, because we know this is a status that we move into after it gets signed because of our default settings. So we just assume that this comes from an estimate being signed, and we notify the lead and we put in the information so they get a notification that with all the pertinent information about the estimate being signed. Next up is our review settings. The review settings is in beta right now. So you can use these, but just know that they're going to evolve over time. Right now on top is the settings for a vetted review. A vetted review is a request that you send where the person fills out a review on our site, and if it's a good review, then we show them options to leave a third-party review with like Google, Facebook, or Yelp, whichever ones you've configured. Here we can customize a message that shows when they come to that landing page asking for the review, and this is the message we show if they've left us a review that meets our minimum requirements for a third-party review. Here are our third-party review links to where we want to direct them for a Facebook review, a Google review, or a Yelp review. And this is the thank you that we provide to them if they leave us a good review. Here is our minimum settings. So in order for us to show a third-party review option, we want them to at least have given us 4 stars. And then if they leave us a vetted review, it'll automatically, since we only have Google above, we can automatically create a request chain that will happen if they are presented the options for the third-party review but don't leave one. We can select a third-party review site for it to automatically start sending them contact and reminders to leave that third-party review. The manager contract review stars, this is this amount or below, we're going to ask them to contact the manager. And this is the message that we show for that. Down here is our review request plan. This is the plan it goes through if it creates a third-party review request. You can also directly request a third-party review from the contact relationship manager from the CRM, or from any one of the contacts within the project. You can select an option to request a review. Down here, we can see how many are in progress, how many have exited, meaning that the person has left a review, and how many have been completed, meaning that they've run through the entire steps but didn't leave a review. Here we have the steps that we follow, and we can customize these. So the first step is we send them an email with this subject, and if we click on the edit here, we can see what our default email is and what the default email body contains. Then after it sends this email, it moves into step 2, where it's going to wait 4 days. It's waiting 4 days for them to either complete that review, and if they don't, then it's going to move to step 3. And it continues this process for however many steps you want to put in here. You can add wait steps and you can add email steps to this process, and you can customize how long of a wait it's going to be, whether it's 7 days, weeks, hours, months, or years. Again, this is all beta right now. This may look different even by the time you go into it from this recording, and we'll be updating this in our training videos. Services, this is where all your services are. This is a more involved video, so look for the training video on how to customize your services in the training section. Staff, this is where you can see your current active staff, as well as if you click on the person with the little clock on it, people who have been invited and their current status. Once they've accepted, you can click on archive. If they have not accepted, you could resend the invite. And then here I can add and invite new people. To do this, I put in their email address. It's going to tell you whether or not this person is already a member of your location, what location they currently are a member of and are assigned to, and their contact information. Let's check another. If we put in someone who does not exist, it'll tell you that it's a new user to the site. So we can click up here and customize a message to invite them, change which role they will have, what kind of staff member they are, and then what their current pay rates are going to be, and then use default availability or set their specific availability, whether or not they have a vehicle, and then their permissions for the site, and then send them the invite. Once they receive the invite, since they're a new user, they'll put in their name, their email, their phone number, and their password. Users have their own account, and you provide access to your account to those users. That's how this works. You do not have control of their password, their email, their contact information. That is all theirs, because they could be a member of multiple locations under that email. And over here we can see any deactivated staff if we had any in here, but these are all active staff. Your subscription and add-on, this is where you can go in and manage your subscription. If you are a VIP access user, you will not have any subscription here, and you can activate the unlimited, which will remove the limit on the number of projects, active projects that you can have in the system. You are not limited on inactive projects. You can deactivate as many projects as you want. Taxes, this is where you can set up your tax codes if you have to charge tax within your locality. What this does is it makes it available for you to use and apply to services, whether or not they are taxable as a service. You really want to rely on your invoicing system like QuickBooks to handle the actual tax on this. When we enable invoicing through our system directly outside of QuickBooks, we will be using a third-party API to do the tax codes. So you will just mark your services as taxable, and then it will handle whether or not you need to charge sales tax and what that sales tax is for that location at that time, which is what QuickBooks does. And again, here we have our support link and then reload current page. If you are using this as a web application on your phone or tablet, you can use this button down here to reload the current page. Now let's look at training. When we go up here, we can click on this and click on training. When we go to training, we're going to see at minimum my training, depending on your role. You may also see company management. The difference between these two is these are training courses for you to take. Company management is where you go and you manage the courses that you want people to take. And you can also use the company management to create courses for your company that you can have your employees take for onboarding. The Move Manager Academy is still in beta. We are looking for feedback on this system, and not all of it works perfectly yet. So just know that when you get in there, you may experience some things, and we want to know about those. So be sure to give us that feedback. Because I'm on our demo test site, these links don't actually work for me on this account. So we'll do a separate video that we will post here that you can watch on how to use the training. So that was a very long but detailed review of Move Manager 360. There is more to learn about projects and whatnot. So look for those videos under your My Training section of the site.